computer. Hey guys, it's Brendan Borman, and we are back for another 270 video. I am pleased to welcome Alex Eastman making his 270 videos debut. How's it going, Alex?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, it's a Friday afternoon. Cannot wait to get out of this work office. But as you can see, I'm working really hard here talking 270. So that's a busy day, busy weekend. We've got Buff Reagan finally happening. We've got lots of community tournaments winding down. The ATP coming to a close for the month of March. If you're interested in competing in the largest 270 tournament, you can reach out to Bryce Hawkins or Zach Algaze inside the 270 lounge. You can play 270. If you don't know what the lounge is, it's the Facebook community where there are almost 10,000 people playing, but it's all good. But today, I always like to bring people on and ask questions, let them introduce themselves. So Alex, let the people know a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, who's your favorite candidates, how long you've been playing, things like that.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Alex Eastman. I'm from Richmond, Indiana, so we're right on the border with Ohio. I've been playing 270 well for quite a long time, like maybe a year and a half at this point. But most of that was just kind of like messing around without knowing any other strategy. I joined the lounge back in, I want to say early November. And so that's when I really kind of started to get into it.
Yeah, November of 2020. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So not that long ago. Did you come for a tournament code?
No, I had never noticed a little button on the screen before that was like join the Facebook community, and so I was like, might as well.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, I know several people who've done that too. So yeah, join the community, and then you obviously got involved, and it's a hobby, of course. And we'll get into your side project here in a little bit. But we all have different ways we contribute to the community or we invest our time. So who's your favorite candidate to play as?
Yeah, so I mean, in tournaments I play almost entirely as Michelle Obama, but I really like playing as Shirley Chisholm.
Okay.
That was like the first, when I did the little app store review and got my free candidate. I'm sorry?
You're not Eugene V. Debs, are you?
That is not me, no. But yeah, that was kind of the first paid candidate that I got. So I play with Shirley often in the lounge, awesome. Or in the awesome. Lobby. I mean,
cool. And then you're from Indiana, you said. I mean, close to Ohio. Ohio is a swing state. Indiana manufacturing. Do you have any candidates that you play as that are from like that area of the country, or that you kind of feel ties to, or do you ever like on the ballot? Do you like try to spend way too much money in Indiana or go for Indiana too much? Because I used to bet in Missouri a lot, and people like picked up on that, and then I had to change my strategy.
Yeah, I definitely do quite a bit of Indiana ballot spending. There are often times when I have like lots of manufacturing money and it's not being pressured, and that is where I dump all of my manufacturing money.
Yeah, but of course you play to win, just like we all do. So
of course,
it's good to change it up once in a while. Cool. Well, what's been your favorite 270 tournament or community thing that you've been a part of, or any loungers that you got to know? I know when I was looking at the mutual friends, we had a couple of mutual friends. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Sure. So the first tournament I ever played was one commissioned by Jeremy Cooper, and I think he's just a really great guy. So I've really enjoyed his presence in the lounge. I've loved playing in the ATP. It's been a lot of fun. I'm a huge tennis fan. I played tennis in high school. Watch all the Grand Slams when they're on. So it was really cool to see kind of coming from that perspective. So it's been a lot of fun to play in that tournament as well.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I love Jeremy. He's been taking a little bit of a break, which is much deserved inside the lounge, but hopefully he gets to see this video and gets to get a shout out here. Yeah, no, there are definitely plenty of ways to get involved, and I try as many of them as I can. I didn't remember if you had thrown your hat in the ring in the Survivor tournament or not. I don't know if you've seen that or not. that's some crazy stuff. So if you're looking for a good time and maybe feel a little frisky, you might try that. I played. I didn't do so well the first season, but made some good friends, and that's kind of what the 270 Lounge is all about. On top of a great game, so I want to get in because we're a little bit short on time here. The main reason why I reached out to you because you've been helpful for me the last couple of days, working on some side projects with the 270 game. And as you know, it's Buff Reagan weekend. The people have been calling for it forever.
Finally.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like the father of the Buff Reagan revolution, but like I started playing as Reagan, who's my first candidate, and he definitely was not up to power scale as he could have been. Now, was I posting memes and making a big deal about it? No, I just was some guy playing from Missouri, before I had a YouTube channel. And but then, you start coming out with more candidates like Michelle Obama and these Joe Biden recently. It's like, oh my gosh, like now I'm a Republican. You don't have to share your political allegiances, but I just, I'm a moderator on the Facebook page, so I have to keep a unbiased. I try to do really well at that. But it just feels like that there was a Democratic bias slightly. It wasn't like anything super major because this game is built on strategy. You can win anyway, as long as you have the right moves and it's fun to play as a weaker candidate sometimes. I play as Vladimir Putin sometimes and do a different oil and gas just to see if I can win. But it was really cool to see the model that you built to kind of put numbers and back up some of those theories. So I'm gonna let you introduce the model, and I will share my screen so the people at home can check that out.
Yeah, that sounds great. So the model is basically two parts. And the first part, which doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but I do want to touch on it briefly, is something that I think is probably the most important part. If you switch to that second sheet in the background, so this is how I came up with all of the values for the groups. You'll notice with that total value column M over there, that's the values that I've assigned to the groups, and that's what's being multiplied by the candidate's stats. And so, for example, with Michelle Obama, that 50% AA bonus, it's not multiplied times the 100,000 money that you get for getting AA. It's multiplied times the 118.5 state value column. And so basically how that was tabulated was I estimated roughly in an average game of 270, how much money over the course of the game would you get from having one state group? And so a state group that you probably going to have for like a very long time, like Old South, that $50,000 builds up over a very long period of time, which makes it much more valuable than like the $50,000 that you get from export, which you get much later in the game. And so that's borne out in that statistic. I also wanted to factor in how many EVs you get from the group, and also how connected that group is to other groups. Like how useful is swing, for example, in getting manufacturing. And so those are the things that I took into account in making those total values. And then if we switch back to the candidates, we can see how that plays out here. So I've got both of our new Reagans over to the left side. But then after that, it's in descending order.
Right now, President Biden is the strongest candidate inside the 270 game.
Yes. Although I'm a little bit careful with saying strongest, but when I post in the lounge, I often take care to say like highest ranked, because I think there's lots of things that I really like about the model and lots of things that it does really well. But I don't think it's an absolutely definitive ranking.
Absolutely. So he has the most total value is the correct way to say that. And then if you notice, there's the VORC, VORC. Could you talk about the difference between the total value and the total VORC?
Yes. So the total value is we take all of your state groups and we multiply them toward against the bonuses or penalties that you have in those groups, and that is your total value. And each candidate has a total value. But there's also, if you see that column C, that's the replacement candidate. And so those are the candidates like Kasich, like Rubio, that have no bonuses and no penalties. And so I try to kind of model this off of the value over replacement player, like you would in like the NBA or NFL.
Or MLB, like when they're doing WAR, how much WAR
Yeah,
things
yeah,
above
yeah.
replacement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I decided to use those no bonus, no penalty candidates as the replacement level candidates. And so that's what that 897.1 number is down there. And so then for the VORC, it's, do you have a higher number than that? And if so, by how much? And so we have Joe Biden over here at 158, and then like all the way over at the other end of the scale is Sarah Palin with, I think, negative 81. And
Lots of candidates.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoa, too far.
There's definitely no shortage of candidates in 270.
Yeah, so it looks like Sarah Palin is the lowest ranked Republican, James Madison, the lowest ranked independent, and Omar, the lowest ranked Democrat.
Yeah.
So
now that's what I think is really important about these new Reagans. Even as someone is, a very proud Democrat, I'm engaged in politics, both local and national. It's a bit ridiculous just how many good Democrats there are. Before these new Reagans, I think it was somewhere between 9 or 10 Democrats were better than the best Republican.
let's take a look at the top. So we'll kind of go through the list here. Sorry, I'm probably hurting people's eyes who are watching this on their phones or on their computers. But if we start here, so let's forget about the Reagans for a moment here. So President Biden, number one, and then you have Santa Claus. So Santa Claus obviously is a unique candidate because he has plus categories across the board, makes him a very versatile candidate. And so you see Frosty the Snowman coming in pretty high, one spot ahead of Crooked Hillary, which is surprising, and then Leprechaun. So if you take out those independents other than George Washington, which is the updated version of George Washington, there are 2 George Washingtons on this list, then the entire top 10 is all Democratic candidates, like you were mentioning. So President Biden, Jill Biden coming in at 4, Michelle Obama, Bernie 2024, Crooked Hillary, JFK, which I was surprised that JFK was actually that high. I love playing as JFK, and he's very very balanced candidate. But someone like FDR, to me, feels like he's a little bit more stronger. But when you put the numbers in, the model, and obviously one spot doesn't make a huge difference. But it's really interesting to see like how it values that. I know we've had a conversation off camera where just a short one about the national groups, where some candidates, like you think of, Bernie 2024 here, comes in at number 6. He has that 50% youth vote. He also has a 40% counting now, or no, sorry, 40% labor and environment, which are national groups, and then he has really high counting down also. And so it depends on the path and how they correlate, like you were mentioning previously. But are you surprised that Haley 2024 is the strongest Republican candidate in the game?
Ooh, yeah, there's definitely a lot that surprises me. I think we were talking about bias, and I think what I've learned a bit putting this together about the kind of democratic bias that exists in the game is I think it's less about the stats that a candidate has and more about the fact that there are 2 of those 100,000 bonuses that are, pretty solidly Democratic bonuses. And then when you have somebody who has all 3, with swing in there as well, that really boosts the number up. So Haley is definitely helped by the pretty big swing state bonus, especially because swing is in terms of the state group values, the highest valued group, more so than AA or high tech. And actually, manufacturing, the model treats manufacturing, because of especially how many EVs you get, almost as a fourth big bonus. It's not very much, it's not valued very less than high tech is.
Well, and I will say that because of that, 270 has actually had conversations about bias and about balancing. And you mentioned the high number of EVs. There was a discussion several months ago about raising the base value of manufacturing from 75K to 100K. The similar discussion was had with agriculture, and this was pre George Washington. Once George Washington came out with a 60% agriculture bonus, that kind of nipped the ag in the butt. Then there was another discussion about possibly lowering the African American base bonus from 100K down to 75K. Nothing is official. They're always looking at ways they can improve the game, and I can tell you, someone who said several conversations, that the priority is getting the new map, and specifically the census data, the new electorals kind of set, and then they will look at the balancing. And so nothing's going to change the immediate future, but you're right, that distinct built-in bias of the one, it's not so much the developers are liberal, they might be. It's more so that there's 3 is an odd number and you can't divide it equally by 2. And so, and that's good from a competitive standpoint, because it puts an emphasis on that. But it's it's something that we all have to adjust and learn to when you're playing the game. And I know, I bet you this has actually helped your game a little bit to analyze the characters and figure out what's the important group. How can I best do that? I mean, I know that there was a really cool tournament going on inside the lounge. That's an MLB baseball draft, where they had like draft candidates, their team, like do a starting rotation. And I think Dwight Eisenhower was like the number 4 overall pick. I don't even see Eisenhower on this list. And it comes down to personal preference, and maybe you like that candidate, but it's pretty interesting. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a candidate that's pretty recent that I actually had some say in some of the stats. And then like Abraham Lincoln coming back this way. I mean, Lincoln obviously is really strong with that 50% African American, 40% manufacturing, but is really hindered by that negative Old South and lack of kind of diversity as far as pathways go. So the Stone, one of my favorite candidates behind Arnold. I never would have guessed that. Very, very crazy. So and then what about Barack Obama? Way down here. Wow. So what's hurting Barack Obama in this model?
So there are a couple things. So I mean, first of all, like Barack is a candidate that has a lot of big bonuses, but a lot of big penalties. And that's a candidate that, and I've thought about kind of tweaks to this model that might make candidates like Barack a little better. The model has, or at least doesn't rate very highly candidates with that kind of dynamic. There's definitely, it skews a lot toward candidates, and this is why like Leprechaun is so high, toward candidates that are good at lots of things, because it takes into account the value of everything that you have. And so I think there's a really good case to be made if you're playing as Barack and you're saying, well, that negative oil bonus doesn't mean anything to me because I'm just not going to get oil. And so I think I've thought about ways which you might fix that. One of the ways that I've tried to do that is I've got the specialist bonus. It's the very last thing in that column. It's the 10 for Barack. And I've basically said, if you have a bonus of 35 or more, then you get 10 points added to your score. Just basically trying to inflate the specialists a little bit.
Is that limited to one? Is it like a yes or no type thing? Okay, because I noticed that a lot of them are 10 or 0, and Obama has African American. I know several candidates like Crooked Hillary would have a ton of bonuses.
Yeah.
Which she's someone who also is pretty I would much rather play as Crooked Hillary than Frosty Snowman for my personal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think again, it just kind of this model really highly values maneuverability, right? Um, the best candidates on this list, you're not gonna lock them out of something, right? Like if you play as Stacey Abrams and you've lost AA, it's hard to come back from that. The best candidates on this list don't have that problem.
Yes, for sure. And that's, I like playing as those mid-level candidates, especially against the mid-level, another mid-level candidate, because it really brings out the cat and mouse. We're like, I know what you want to do, and you know what I want to do, and let's see who can do it.
Yeah,
Versus when you're playing as Michelle Obama, and I don't blame you for playing as Michelle Obama all the time, or Nikki Haley. You have an Old South bonus and a swing state bonus, or in Michelle's case, you have a swing state bonus and an AA bonus, or even if you just completely go for straight for New York, which doesn't oftentimes work against top level players, you can go towning down right in the high tech, and then you can pressure AA, and then you can like beat your opponent to Texas or California, and it's a nightmare trying to figure out when someone's got so many pivot points, like you just can't take them all away. So yeah, I really appreciate that insight. I've got about 1 or 2 more minutes here before I have to get off, and I do apologize, Alex. It's been really fun talking to you. Is there anything else that you would like me to highlight in your model?
I think that's pretty much it. I might say a word or two about national groups.
Okay.
I decided, and actually, when I was putting candidates in, I think the original Ronald Reagan was the first one I did. And I thought, as I was kind of putting everything, I was like, man, this seems like a whole lot higher than it ought to be. And so that's when I kind of reevaluated national groups. And so basically what I've done is with all the state groups, I'm saying this is how much money you get over time. And that's what contributes to the score. But with national groups, I take into account the net money that you get. So here's how much money you get over the course of the game, and we're subtracting from that the money that you spent. Because in state groups, the money that you spend helps you just by spending it, right? You're in the states, you're getting EVs, but
And
with
there's
national groups, that
crossover
money,
too, because you can spend money in North Carolina, and that can go towards swing, that can go toward Old South, that can go toward manufacturing, that can, AA.
yeah. So what I just decided is the money that you've spent in national groups is not helpful apart from getting the bonus. And so that's why you have net money, and why those national groups are much smaller than the state groups. And also, I decided we're only going to apply those if you have a 40% or higher bonus. And that's something that I'm looking at tweaking, especially with some of these newer candidates that have 30, 35% bonuses.
Mhm.
But the idea basically was, if you have like a 20% youth vote bonus, that's not a big incentive to get youth vote. And so why factor that into the candidate score when it's not something that's going to be actually done in gameplay?
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. And I just want to point out that Reagan's way back here, 1 spot ahead of Stacey Abrams, but is also getting a buff and will come in a lot higher. I don't remember the exact number, but let's just take a look here. The 131 replacement cost for Reagan 84, the brand new candidate, will put George Washington, looks like between Santa Claus and George Washington right there.
Yeah, I think actually just a bit before George Washington.
Or right before George Washington.
Ahead of Jill and behind George.
Okay, 131.42. That's, yeah, my eyes were playing tricks on me there. 130. Yeah, so Reagan 84 will be the number 4 candidate as total value, not strength, but total value. And then the newer version of old Reagan, or Ronald Reagan inside the game, Buff Reagan, with a score of 114 will come in, let's see, right next to Crooked Hillary.
Yep.
Wow. So gonna be a little bit more Ronald Reagan love coming to the game. And if you don't have that subscription, it's the best way to get all the candidates. But you might support the game. They've tried to listen to the community. And if you are sitting on a couple dollars and want to invest in a new candidate, these might be the 2 candidates for you. I appreciate it, Alex. It was nice to meet you. It's like the first time
Yeah,
that
this
I
is
actually
fun.
talked to you, so kind of a unique experience. And you're welcome back anytime. And thank you guys so much for watching. And I will talk to you guys in the next 270 video. Bada bing, bada boom.
Got it done.
Well
Alrighty.
done.